This whole cancer journey has really clarified for me how we as a society approach chronic versus acute illness and cancer versus any other illness.
Yeah. I mean, the "at least it's not cancer" phrase like gets said for everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I remember you and I, and then like, then it is cancer. And then it's like, okay, got to jump on it, got to do something, but not until we hit that big C, you know? Although like, and I remember
that's not to diminish cancer because you and I both are living with that. Like,
before we jump into this episode, I want to invite you to join the What the F community to hear even more conversations that will make you laugh, cry, and feel more connected. All I'm asking you to do is click on that subscribe button that's right on your screen. I love your support, and it's just so inspiring and amazing to see all of your comments. Thank you so much for subscribing. It means the world. Here we go. Hey guys, welcome to What the F. I am so stoked about my guest today, Jessica Smith. She is so awesome, and I can't wait to dive in. But before we get started, I really want to thank Neurelis and SK Life Science for making conversations like this possible and believing in What the F podcast. Jess, it is so awesome to have you here.
I'm so excited. I can't believe we're in person, finally.
I know. We've been, I don't even know how long we've been friends, but
years.
Yeah. It's so funny because I was talking with my friends and I was like, yeah, I'm meeting with Jess and blah, blah, and she's a good friend. They're like, but you've never met? And I'm like,
nope.
Oh, you guys don't have epilepsy. You don't understand. Like, the epilepsy community has a lot of online friendships because it's just sometimes easier to talk from your couch.
Not have to leave your house.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I want to talk more about that before I want our audience to know just how fucking amazing you are with your work. You're such a boss ass bitch. So Jess is the founder and CEO of Living Well With Epilepsy, which is a resource for people with epilepsy to like share stories. It provides, tips and information and education. I've had the pleasure of writing for Living Well and doing some editing too, which has been so fun. Living Well with Epilepsy has been featured in Forbes, Wired, NBC, NPR, and the cover story of Epilepsy Advocate magazine. It has won several Web Health Awards and recognized by key opinion leaders in neurology. So it's huge, amazing research, which I can't wait to talk more about. And also, just because in case you need more to do, Jess is also the executive director of Ascent, which is a nonprofit to advance the development of therapies and
neurotherapeutics. So drugs and devices in the neurotherapeutic space. So any disease space that falls under CNS. So epilepsy to Alzheimer's to ALS to movement disorders, any drug or device that falls under that umbrella. And it includes our key stakeholders are industry, advocacy, government, and academia. So we have folks come to our meeting and contribute to our journal that are like leaders in FDA, chairs of neurology, heavy hitters in advocacy, Michael J. Fox Foundation, Alzheimer's Association, and then leading researchers. So people come to our meeting and they're like elbowing me, do you know who that is? And I'm like, yeah, because I invited them. So it's fun.
Yeah. You're the executive director of
it's fun.
This.
Yeah.
Right, which thank you for explaining it because you do a much better job than me.
No,
this is so fun. Above my head and way too smart for me.
It's a fun way to kind of bridge the gap between the scientific community and the patient community because I get to share what I learn from the patient community and bring it back to have real hard conversations with the scientists, and then similarly bring everything that I learned from the scientists back to the patient community.
I mean,
it's kind of fun.
You kind of are like the bridge of the gap.
Yeah, it's really fun to be able to go toe to toe with people who fight, really don't understand or feel there's a need to have patients at the table and have an alphabet soup at the end of their name and have a casual, nice dinner with them and really have those hard conversations. Mm-hmm. And they listen to me. Yeah. graduate degree. But
I got loads of experience.
See value in my opinion, and they share their opinion, and they listen to mine, and sometimes it changes their opinion, sometimes it doesn't, but that's okay. We have a nice dialogue.
Yeah. Well, and that connection is so important to get patient perspective. But I also, I love to ask this question just because I want to hear like what your first response feels like, but like what your epilepsy journey, when it started and what it looked like. And then we'll get to like where you are right now and why you created Living Well, because I'm just dying to talk more about that too.
So I did have fever seizures as a baby, may have had them as a toddler. I don't really know. But my first real seizure happened, my first major seizure.
Sure.
I shouldn't say real.
I know. Well, we do that
seizure.
to it. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
We do that to ourselves. I remember I was talking to you one time. I was like, well, I didn't have a seizure. And you're like, that was a seizure. I'm like, yeah, but it was so small.
I know. I know. I have to like remind myself.
Yes, we all do. Yeah.
I had a tonic-clonic seizure when it was a summer between 7th and 8th grade. So I was probably about 12. I was going through puberty. I was meant to go on vacation with my best friend Amy's family. I'm the oldest of 3 in a pretty big Irish Catholic family. So to be like, have the opportunity to escape, go away with somebody else's family was like pure heaven.
Especially at that age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was a fancy vacation. I think we were going to like some cabin in New Hampshire. I didn't even care.
Yeah, get out of town.
I was like, whatever. Yeah. And I was so excited to go, and had a like real heavy duty seizure in the hallway in my purple summer bathrobe. Like,
the irony of it being purple is just
I know. Yeah. I know. I never really thought about that. And my dad thought I was going to swallow my tongue. I had braces, like heavy hardware in my mouth, and he stuck his fingers in my mouth, got his hands all torn up. But it took like a couple of years to find a combo of meds that worked. I remember times in high school where I was like toxic on meds and holding onto walls and so on. I did eventually find a combo of meds that worked, and like I did not get to go on vacation with Amy.
Fuck epilepsy, man.
I know. But I did manage to get my seizures under control enough to go to college, and I got into my first choice school, and then much to my parents' chagrin, I got in, and they were like, oh, that's a problem. So
why?
Because it was 3 states away and it was really expensive. So yeah, we had a little knock them down, drag them out to, and I won that one, and nice. I went to Fordham. And then when it was time to graduate, people said, what do you want to do when you graduate? And I said, live in New York. And they were like, no, like for career. And I was like, live in New York.
Live in New York.
I just want to stay here. I don't want to go home. I want to just stay. They were like, no, but like for work. No.
I will make a living.
I don't care.
Out of living here. Yeah.
I just want to do it.
Yeah.
So I stayed.
Nice.
Yeah. Eventually I got married, had a child, and discovered that epilepsy is a little bit more complicated than just seizures.
Isn't that weird how it even takes like people with epilepsy to learn that?
Yeah.
Because we're not like told that in the beginning. Well,
are we ever told that?
No. Oh my God. Not unless it's by each other.
I mean,
yeah.
I've seen what I know to be the leading specialists. Like, and I know that as a fact.
Yeah.
And I've had to force the issue.
Wow.
About, like, my mom had borderline early onset Alzheimer's, and I've had to say, am I at risk for this? I've had to say, like, is my child at risk for this?
Yeah.
Am I at risk for osteoporosis? Am I at, I've had to ask these questions.
Right. Rather than be presented with the information.
Right.
And
I mean, my daughter exists because there was a conflict between my birth control and my anticonvulsants. I was on birth control and on anticonvulsants. My father was like, don't you know about birth control? I'm like, I'm not 13, and it was a numbers game, but
right. Yes. Yeah, and that's something that there is sometimes that convergence, like you said, between anti-seizure meds and birth control.
Yeah.
And it's just another tricky thing that we're not always told.
I wasn't, for sure.
Yeah.
Not by my neurologist or by my GYN. I mean, granted, it was the 90s, but we're not, it was 2000 for my daughter.
So when in this journey did you decide, like, what first inspired you to create Living Well with Epilepsy? Because I know it is such a touchstone for so many people, because one, people who can submit their stories and share their stories, and that can be very healing for the individual, right? Yeah. To share it. And then sometimes people will share it and not tell anyone. Sometimes they'll send it to their families, and like, I know when I did it, I remember like first time I wrote on Living Well, I was so proud for sharing part of my story. And then like I sent it to like just a few people to be like, hey, like here's a little thing if you want to read it, but you don't have to. Yeah. And then you hear from people who read the stories and don't share, and they're like, oh my God, I feel seen. I feel heard. Like, is this what you pictured for it? Why did you start it? Tell me all about it, because it's just such a beautiful piece and community for us out there that you've created.
First of all, I have to ask, have we not talked about this?
No.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh.
Or we might have, but my memory is so bad from the anti-seizure meds that I might have forgotten.
Maybe.
So.
Which, hashtag facts. Yeah. So, that we had Carolyn because...
Your daughter, Carolyn.
My daughter, Carolyn. My husband and I had been living together for 5 years or so. We had known each other since the freshman year mixer in college. Like, it was a foregone conclusion. Like, we were going to be together forever. Like, that was never a question. And the fact that, we had this pink and perfect, gorgeous little person in our lives was amazing. And my husband and I, like, if we could have had 3,000 little people, we would have. My body can't handle that, and I'm not sure my patients can either, but like, we just love kids. Carolyn was about 3, and we had moved to New Jersey, and we planned for him to have a vasectomy. And in May, and just before his vasectomy, we found out I was pregnant again. We were like, all right, okay. Mm-hmm. So we went forward with a maternal fetal medicine specialist and talked about a name and got a present for Carolyn. My mom and I found this massive dollhouse that when, we found out the sex of the baby, we were going to give that to Carolyn. Like, this was going to be like a person in our family. Yeah. And we found out the baby had hydrocephalus, severe hydrocephalus caused by spina bifida that was not discovered at 12 weeks. It was discovered closer to like 18 weeks because she only had 80%. She had 80% fluid on her inner skull and 20% cortex, brain cortex. Everything else had been pulled down. Oh. Kathleen was not going to live. Yeah. It was not a viable pregnancy. Our baby was not going to live. I'm so sorry. That's just so. So we made the decision to terminate, but even by the time we had got to the date we had to terminate, she was failing. Like, so the decision was made for us in reality. Yeah. In order to process that, I started writing letters to her. And then I wrote a picture book about a little girl with epilepsy. And then I tried to learn the literary, process and industry. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe, and that sort of taught me like, this is impacting my body more. So I don't want to make any assumptions.
Right.
But the docs at Children's Hospital said it could have been your epilepsy, it could have been your medication, ?
Sure.
And still a question mark to this day.
Yeah.
But at that point I was like, I feel like I've learned so much in my journey, just how to navigate the health system. I had 6 months off after that. 6 months off. I lost my job because I was like crying at work.
Oh,
I mean, it was like disaster, right?
Yeah. Well, but how that makes sense.
It does. But like, that 6 months I used to start writing. I used to spend time with my toddler, go for 4-mile walks. Like I used that time real wisely. And
sounds very healing.
it was very healing. And when I went back to work, at Wharton in their fundraising department. And then a couple of years later, I was like, I think I want to do something. Like I want to write something, but I don't have the bandwidth to write a book. WordPress and Twitter had come out. So I was like, well, I'll write a blog. And I started this blog, and it was just like literally a one-page blogger blog. And people from all over the world started reaching out to me and asking, I'd like to share my story. And there was literally nothing else. Like the foundation hadn't acquired epilepsy.com. There was no walk. It was like literally back in the day.
Yeah. Like you were talking about it and no one else was.
No.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, give me a second. Let me crack open the back and teach myself how to code so I can put a navigation together.
No big deal. I'm just going to teach myself how to code.
Teach myself how to code. It's like, that's faster than writing a book. Okay, I'll do that. So I did.
That's so amazing.
Fast forward to like, that was maybe 2008, 9, 10, around there.
Sure, yeah.
And then between that time and 2015, I started to learn more about like whole countries in the world that didn't have access to a neurologist. And I was like, we need to do something in global health. Mm-hmm. And I hit wall after wall after wall after wall. And finally, I was working with an app developer at the time. They were like, why don't you just do something for yourself, for your own website? And I'm like, I was so frustrated. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna. I love it. Like, damn it, I'm gonna. So I started the Epilepsy Blog Relay, and it was based on something the United Nations Foundation did to raise awareness for vaccines. And I was like, I have all these people submitting their stories. I'm going to ask if they'll each take a day in 1 month. Within like 10 hours, I had half the slots filled. Within 24 hours, I had all month slots filled. And then at the end of the month, everybody did what they said they were going to do, which as a marketer, I was like, what just happened? And then I had communications companies calling me because pharmaceutical companies their regulatory people wouldn't allow them to do anything on social media. So it had to be at arm's length. Mm-hmm. So they were like, we'd love to participate in your blog relay. I'm like, that's great. I'll get back to you with my prospectus. Uh-huh. And I was like, I don't have a prospectus. Shit. And I had just finished creating one for the scientific society I was working for. I was like, I'm just going to create it like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
so that's how I monetized.
You had like kind of a template, and you're like,
that's how I monetized the site. I was like, I'll do it three times a year.
Yeah.
And I started doing it. It's always come out of like, yeah, I'm going to do that. It's never, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of sliding through this life on a cafeteria tray.
Oh my God, I've never heard that before.
I've never said that to you before.
Again, maybe you have. And
I don't know.
Might have
I feel
forgotten
like
it.
somebody said that to me once, like in a derogatory way, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of am. Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah, I will take that and I will own that. Yes. Yes.
I mean, did you ever imagine like your personal blog and then like adding other people to it would turn into, because like it reaches like hundreds of thousands of people.
I know. No, I thought it was just going to be like my first articles were how to find a good neurologist. Just steps, how to. And the next one was how to fire your neurologist.
I love it. Yeah.
Things to ask in your neurologist appointment. They all still apply.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
They all still apply. I still feel like I need to guide people through how to fire your neurologist. And that it's okay.
Well, absolutely. That's not, it's just not an easy thing to do, because I think we generally look at our doctors, especially neurologists, as the ones who know better and the ones who are doing their job. And it's not that they're not, but some aren't.
Sometimes it's not a good fit.
Yeah,
and that's okay.
Yeah, it's like a therapist. Sometimes nothing wrong with that person, nothing wrong with you. It just doesn't match.
Right. And it doesn't matter how much alphabet soup they have at the end of their name.
I love that. Yeah.
If they're not a good fit for you, if your objectives don't align, it's never going to be a good fit. Find somebody else.
Yep.
That's okay. You're paying them.
Yes.
It's your time.
They work for you.
They work for you, whether or not they want to admit that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because I think
But when you go in there, they drive the appointment.
Yes.
It's a hard balance.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's kind of expected too. It's like, hopefully like they're asking the questions first to figure out where you're at, right?
Yeah.
But then I always say how I like to ask the questions at the end that I have written out on a notebook, because otherwise I will forget them.
Yeah.
And I won't write them on my phone because I'm afraid to appear, I don't know, like, when someone's looking at their phone, sometimes it can be like rude or something.
Yeah.
And then it's easier for me to write it down. Yeah. So like then type it out. Yeah. But that's my own like little self-conscious
Everybody has
thing.
their thing.
I think that's still solid advice on like how to find a neurologist and how to fire one.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, and that was 2009.
Oh my God. See, you're kind of like the OG of epilepsy advocacy. You know that, right?
I did have a guy in California that I'm still kind of in touch with every so often. And he's like, nobody else is doing this. You're doing. I'm like, there's got to be somebody else. I kind of feel that way about the coaching that I've started, that there's there's maybe 5 other people doing it in the world. And I'm like, this exists in diabetes. It exists in cardiac care. It exists in oncology. Like, why doesn't it?
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because this coaching thing is something new that you've started. Your epilepsy coaching.
I tested it out this past year.
Yeah.
Actually, I tested it out the year before, just kind of haphazardly, but I really rolled it out this past year.
And what does that rollout look like? What does the epilepsy coaching process look like for someone who might be like, I might want some?
So if somebody is interested in it, so let me back up.
Yeah.
The reason I started it has to do with something that you and I have in common, and that is in 2021, I was diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer. I said to Ted, my husband, if it's stage 4, I'll figure out how to sell Living Well. And when it came back as stage 3C, I was like, nope, not selling. I was like, by the hair of my chinny chin chin.
I love your entrepreneur mind. Like,
nope, not doing it.
Based on the stage I will determine my next business step.
Of course,
yeah. No, but of course to you and I, because you and I run our own businesses, but that's just not like, I don't know how, wow, I got real excited. I moved the chair. I don't know how normal of a thought process that is.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I mean, made sense to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, so anyway, so you, yes, and I remember when this happened, this was just you had been through so much already, and it was like, life was like, let me give you more.
I know, yeah. So around that time, like we had, my sisters and I had sold my parents' house, put my mom in a memory care unit, moved my parents both into a senior living facility, and then January of 2022, I had just started chemo. My dad passed away from COVID pneumonia. February of 22, my mom passed away. I continued with chemo. It was a lot.
That is a lot for a heart to handle.
It was a lot.
Once, yeah.
I thank God every day for my cousins and my sisters. Would not have gotten through it without them. And of course, it goes without saying, my husband and daughter, yeah, there's no words, right? Chemo was a lot. That kind of intense chemo is really, really hard on your body. My friend, our local support system was amazing. And I got through it. My numbers came way, way down. Didn't get to no evidence of disease, but got pretty close. And so I was of course, I'm always on to the next. So I was getting close to, or I had a clean CAT scan. I don't know.
Sometimes there's too many tests to remember.
Yeah. But I was all right, so I need to look at coaching so that I can figure out how I need to be when I'm done with this chemo. And I found this woman that had stage 3C ovarian cancer and was doing coaching. And I was I need somebody who gets this. Yeah. And so I worked with her for a bit, and I was she's speaking my language, and she understands, and she had tools in place. And
it is amazing when someone has that lived experience.
The lived experience was really important. I learned a lot from her, but what I really took from it was so many things from that experience. Somebody sent me an anonymous package before I started chemo, and it had everything that you would need in your chemo bag. And I remember opening it and being why don't we do this when somebody's diagnosed with epilepsy? My brother-in-law sent an army of people to do a fall cleanup for 4 hours. We didn't even know, I'm talking 25 people.
Oh my gosh.
We didn't even know half of them.
Oh. Wow.
They laid they bought a cord of wood. They gave us a fire pit. They laid a little concrete thing for our garbage cans.
Wow.
I was
yeah, seriously. I know. I'm trying to keep it together. Yeah.
Because I was diagnosed with cancer, which so grateful.
Yeah.
And it made me think, the whole experience was so clarifying for me.
How so?
It made me wonder, not just about epilepsy, but why aren't we doing this for neurologic diseases?
Right.
Why do we hide this stuff?
It is odd how we hide the chronic illnesses.
Yeah.
And not the acute ones.
And so when I had a reoccurrence, my brother-in-law said, you know, what do you want us to do? Can we come back?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, because I don't know how often. And again, it like really like made me think this whole cancer journey has really clarified for me how we as a society approach chronic versus acute illness and cancer versus any other illness.
Yeah. I mean, the "at least it's not cancer" phrase like gets said for everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I remember you and I, and then like, then it is cancer. And then it's like, okay, got to jump on it, got to do something, but not until we hit that big C, you know? Although like, and I remember
that's not to diminish cancer because you and I both are living with that. Like,
and I remember like you brought this to my attention when you were going through this, because I had never thought about it before, because I, like you, when I was diagnosed with my second brain tumor, I got a lot of support. I got so many presents. It was amazing. I have great pajamas right now because of that second brain tumor. I am so grateful.
So many blankets.
Yeah. Oh, all the blankets.
I'm not giving them back.
Yeah. No. Hell no. Those blankets got names.
Yeah.
They are my friends.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, and I was just so overwhelmed, like you described, like by the support.
Yeah.
And then like a few months later, when I'm going through radiation and I start having epileptic seizures, I was getting a lot of support while I was going through radiation, you know, and it just didn't, it never occurred to me, like really wonderful support. Like people were bringing me meals. Like,
yeah, same here.
I mean, it, you know, and
the meal train was like,
the meal train is the thing. I had a coworker at the time who was like this amazing chef. And so my cousin would come over the Wednesdays that he was bringing food. And we're like,
awesome.
Akili, thank you so much. Like, and I can't even remember what the food was because who knows? But like I was like, Beth, my cousin was like, you got to come over on Wednesday. It's Akili again. She's like, I'll be there, you know.
Yeah.
And
but that's like a double bonus. You get a meal and you get the social interaction.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because I was living alone then.
Yeah.
And my credit to my cousin Beth, she would come over at least once a week and make it seem like it was just to hang out with me.
Yeah.
Which it was. We had a lot of fun and laugh, but I had no idea she was like checking in on me.
Yeah.
You know, and she was like taking care of me, and she just made me feel like it was just like, oh, we're just going to keep hanging out like we always do, you know? And even though I was like, you know, half comatose, but I just never really thought about it until you brought it up. And I was like, that's right. Like, and then with like the seizures that, you know, when I have them, it's just sometimes, it's just interesting how sometimes it just still gets brushed under the, at least it's not cancer rug.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, oh, what do I do with this now, with this knowledge? Like,
I know. I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate how you were like, okay, I've noticed this, so now what? And your now what seemed to be like, I'm going to create epilepsy coaching.
It was, but I feel like there's more. Yeah. I started the coaching, and so years ago, because of a medication side effect, I went through a dialectical behavioral therapy program, and when I put the ask out on social media, I found that a lot of people don't know what DBT is.
No, I think like 2 episodes ago, Tori Robinson of Epilepsy Sparks had to explain it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's skill-based therapy. And what I loved about it was I felt like it put language to all the stuff. It put language and skills to all the stuff that I had floating around in my head, which said to me, not only am I not crazy, there's a whole science behind this. And that means that there's people out there thinking about this and studying it So I can't be the only one. I found it hugely, hugely validating.
Well, and I'm hearing like two things out of that. One, it's like it's like all of a sudden when your emotions get kind of like, there's like emotional and rational, and all of a sudden they go into this like rational section, and which is like very calming when like you take emotions out and put it like with science.
There's language to that.
Language.
It's called wise mind.
Oh,
exactly.
Look at you educating.
No, this is not me. There's science behind this.
Oh, I know, but you're educating me right now.
Yeah, but like you had that just naturally.
Oh, no, that's from therapy. That's my neuropsych. She taught me how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so it's like just separating the emotional and the rational, and then like kind of categorizing it.
Yep.
So I did not even know I was going through DBT therapy until this very moment.
She's probably just infusing it. Like it's probably DBT informed.
Yes. I can't wait to ask her next time I talk to her. 'Cause she'll be like, yeah. And then the other thing too that you said was like, and that you're not alone. You're not the only one thinking about this.
Right.
You're not like those two things, when you take the emotion out and put it into rational, and then when you realize you're not alone, both those things are so powerful.
Huge.
Like,
they were huge for me.
Yeah.
I got that out of the coaching with the person with the same diagnosis. And then like to have a little bit of the like rational and not alone, and then to also like hear your own language back at you. I'm like, we need this.
yeah.
So I was like, well, it doesn't exist. So, okay. I mean, it was sort of like the epilepsy blog relay, like, yeah, had the same moment. So I just started it. So what I put out to people is, start with a discovery call with me. Sometimes it's a fit. I mean, it's like anything else. Sometimes it's a fit. Sometimes it's not. I have a couple of clients that, have recently re-upped.
So, okay. So what does it look like then when someone is working with you and not, and when you're like, oh yes, like what would that person look like?
It's a variety of things. So one person off the top of my head has like, his seizures acted up. He was out of work. So we worked on his resume and a cover letter. And he got a job. Like, that was a sticking point for him. And he needed to get a job in a certain time period so that he could get his benefits back.
Yeah.
That was really important. So we did that in 3 months.
Wow.
Like in this economy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just keep applying. And he was like, I don't want to keep applying. I'm like, just keep applying for jobs. He was like, but my cover letters. I'm like, okay, so we're going to work on your cover letter next. And there's another woman that like, she was diagnosed later in life. And that was really hard. Like she's struggling with the fact that like her memory has been affected on the meds. And so for her, it's more about acceptance. So it's different for each person.
Yeah, which makes sense just because the epilepsies are so very different.
Yeah.
So if a person listening right now is like, sign me up, I want to do it, how do they get in touch with you?
On my Stan store or on my website, you can just...
So livingwellwithepilepsy.com?
Living Well With Epilepsy, or even on my Instagram, which is Living Well With Epilepsy. Just go click on the link and book a discovery call. It's free. It's a half an hour.
Yeah. I feel like I have discovery calls with you all the time.
You do, but you're my bud. But it's basically just like, what's a struggle for you? Or does the conversation flow? Is it, am I going to be of benefit to you?
Yeah.
How often do we need to meet? Like, do you have a high need and you want to meet once a week? Do you have goals that we need to meet in a couple of months and we only need to meet twice a month? Like,
sure. Yeah, just tailored. It's like a
Yeah,
tailored.
yeah.
That's amazing. And I love that just because, like you said, you recognized that this wasn't really happening in our world, in the epilepsy sphere. And you did have experience with it with acute.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
a cutie.
Yeah. I also put an ask out recently on social media because I feel like getting on a call isn't going to work. Like, not everybody wants to be so public about that. And so I said, you know, I'm working on kind of a workbook, like a book, and an online course. Which do you guys want first? And like a huge percentage of people said they wanted the online course.
Okay.
So I put up the wait list, and we'll see. Anybody on the wait list is going to get like 50% off. So
is everyone listening? Get your ass on the wait list.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, this is what I love.
Just have the same stuff in it.
Yeah.
It's just not everybody learns the same way.
Right. Right. Exactly. Some people don't want to talk it through with another person.
Yeah. I mean, epilepsy is so stigmatized, and not everybody's ready to talk about it.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people just want to be quiet in their house and not talk to a person. I get that.
Yeah, you and I get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just love how you just continue to innovate, though. You continue to innovate this sphere of the epilepsy community and continue to create new avenues based on what your experience, not only your lived experience, but also like the vast knowledge, you know, you have surrounding epilepsy, surrounding current epilepsy research, surround, you know, the work you do with Ascent. Just like you have I don't want to say like, oh, your toes are in the pool, because it's like your whole body's, you're just like in the thing, and it's like
it doesn't feel like innovation though. I'm just repurposing what's being done in other spaces.
Art's just recreating something else.
I know, yeah,
you know?
yes, yeah.
So I don't know. I appreciate it. I think you're innovative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Woo.
You're like, great. So what, do you have any other next plans that we should be on the lookout for?
No,
like,
that's going to keep me busy
yeah,
for a while.
I was going to say, I'm like, except for the book we need to write.
We do.
Mm-hmm.
So should we share?
Yeah.
All right. So I have an epilepsy experience and a cancer experience, and you have an epilepsy and a cancer experience. Will you share kind of what you alluded to it a little bit.
Yeah. So I was diagnosed with my first brain tumor when I was 20. I still have it. It's a pituitary tumor. I'll have it probably forever. And when I got it, I was like, this is the Prada of brain tumors, guys. Like, this is the Cadillac, because 99.9 non-cancer. You can live with it. It did fuck with my hormones. I found out about it because I was lactating at a party in college.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I might have been a little drunk and was like, call me Lactate Landis, and like went around. Yeah, I thought it was fucking hilarious. So, and that was the whole, like, at least it's not cancer experience for me.
Yeah.
And then fast forward 15 years, not even 15 years, 12 years later, and I was diagnosed with my second brain tumor. And before going into surgery, they're like, we need to remove this guy, but it's stage 1 before I went into surgery. It's stage 1. And so I got the whole, at least it's not cancer, from everyone over again. And that was the first time where I was like, this is not an okay phrase. Like, I'm having brain surgery. Right. I am grateful it is not cancer.
Stage 1 is cancer.
But,
I'm sorry.
Well, then the biopsy came back and it was stage 2, which then I've gotten conflicting reports, and this is where it really fucks with your brain, and I just couldn't handle it. But like, some doctors saying it is cancer, some doctors saying it's not. It was a very rare type of brain tumor that like 0.01% of brain tumors. I was like, I'm special.
Rare.
Yeah, I was like, I'm so special. I get like all the
You're
crazy
a zebra.
ones. Yeah, I'm a zebra. But like, it required radiation, so like, but I was still getting the, at least it's not cancer, from everyone. And that's when I kind of was like, fuck this phrase. Like, I can't take one more person telling me while I'm going to have my brain
I think our title
removed.
should be, at least it's not cancer. Oh, fuck. It is. Oh,
Yeah.
fuck. It is.
Yeah. And so I think, and then the epilepsy came most likely as a result of the brain surgery.
Yeah.
But, and there's just, I think through those lived experiences that we both share, which are similar and different, obviously, but like, I think there's a lot of people like us out there who also like to couch it in humor and laugh a little bit about it, you know, because how else the fuck do you handle this shit?
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I named my tumors, so.
My daughter was asking me the other night. She's like, okay, so I don't mean to be rude, but like they took out your bits. What happened? Did all the other stuff like fill in? I was like, I don't know, good question. It was real late at night. I was like, she's like, could it all fall out? I was like, I suppose it could, but
Like,
it's probably
I'll
not
compose
likely.
my chart tomorrow and I
I'm like, really hoping I don't have prolapse, but she's like, oh my God, is that what it'd be called? There's a name for it?
Oh, that's good. I like it. Maybe that's the other title. Could it all fall out?
I like that better.
It's valid. Yeah. So I think we have something here, and I think I do. And you and I have talked about this. You know, I'm also working on my brain tumors boyfriend book for the past like 4 years. You know, one day that'll come around too. But yeah, I think I just after doing, you know, I feel like I've kind of mirrored a little bit of your work in that, like asking people to share their stories.
Yeah.
You know, in
It's
a different platform.
So important.
Well, it's really kind of just following in the footsteps of, you know, what you're doing, and then just just in order to create this community.
Yeah. One thing that I have found through all of this, so in being in this space, and I know that other advocates have participated in this way, I've been invited to be quite literally at the table in kind of scientific discussions. At one point, I was involved in an Institute Without Walls kind of thing, an NIH project. Conversation kind of went a little sideways where, like, you know, should we talk about epilepsy in the forums? Is it bad to talk about epilepsy? And I'm like, the study is about epilepsy. We have to say epilepsy. And I'm thinking this to myself.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, what's happening? We have to say epilepsy. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh, I'm the patient at the table. Like, this is why I'm here. I have to say something. Because I was looking around going, somebody has to say something.
And then you're like,
and I was like,
oh shit, it's me.
I'm the guy. I have to say something.
Yeah.
And so I said something. It's important. Participate.
Yeah. Yeah. In the ways you can.
In the ways you can.
And
in the
feel
ways that
comfortable.
work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. We're going to close this conversation with that. Yeah. But I've got 4 questions for you that are unrelated.
Ooh.
My 4 fun questions. As a former teacher, I like to say that. Okay. What is your favorite book?
I think probably A Tree Grows in Brooklyn.
I've never read it. What is it?
It's like a 1940s story.
Love it.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like required reading.
Isn't it fun when the required reading actually turns out to be good?
I read it again as an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's worth it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I love it.
It was her only novel. Yeah.
That's even more intriguing.
Yeah.
I love
good.
it. Okay. Number 2, what is your guilty pleasure TV show? Or movie?
A movie? The Other Woman. It has Cameron Diaz, Leslie Mann, and I can never remember the other one. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, well, we're two people with epilepsy.
Yeah,
We don't know the names of celebrities. No, that's a great movie.
So funny.
Oh my God, it is so funny. I need to watch that again. It's been so
me
long.
Laugh just thinking about it. But that's my go-to. Like
Nice.
Carolyn and I, if we need a laugh, she's now to the point where she's like, I can't watch it again.
I'll watch it with you from afar. We can FaceTime and watch it.
Yeah.
Number 3, what does it mean to you to be a friend?
Showing up.
Yeah. And that's it.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And last question, number 4. What is one self-care practice that you do that you absolutely love?
I started gardening a couple of years ago. But over the past few years, I've put a lot of self-care in place. A couple of years ago, I started some real positive self-talk. And I had to start with something as basic as I'm worthy. It's evolved. I do a lot of basic gratitude. Like when I get really frustrated, I'm like, I'm grateful for the clothes on my back. I'm grateful for the,
Totally.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff.
Yeah. That gratitude one was like, I couldn't believe how much it works.
It does.
Yeah.
A real outside my window of tolerance. That's another DBT. Like if you're really any hyper arousal is, so your window of tolerance is here. And if you're any stimuli will just make you go off the rails, or hypo arousal is I just can't get out of bed today. But if you're in your window of tolerance, stimuli is okay, I can handle that. But when I'm up here, gratitude will really kind of bring me down into my window of tolerance.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah. It won't necessarily bring me up, but it will bring me down. Sometimes it will, but gardening will bring me up.
Okay. Well, that's so cool to know which ones, when you need them. Again, kind of bringing the logic, rationality into emotions.
It didn't happen overnight. It's taken me years. So
well.
I'm a lot older than you.
Okay. First of all, our spirits are the same age.
It's true.
Second of all, you're not.
That's good for me. I don't know about you.
Oh my God, this is so much fun. It's so much fun to talk not over FaceTime.
I know.
But thank you so much for doing this, Jess. You are the fucking best. Like I said, the fucking OG. Oh, yeah. And I really appreciate you coming into Chicago and having this convo with me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is so much fun.
Yeah,